Welcome to the Butterfly Mindset Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Butterfly Mindset Podcast. Today, I have my good friend, Dave Archuletta. What's up, bro?
What's up?
I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, so, it's pretty interesting because, how did we met at the Real Producers event? Is that how we met? Did we meet beforehand?
No, I don't think we met until first team, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then we
then we met again.
That's right.
At the Real Producers
And that's
event.
when we hit it off and became friends because we were just making fun of everybody
Because
else.
I think we first met at one of our mastermind things.
Yep.
And you and I were both aligned in the things that we would say.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, oh, this guy, I like this guy.
Yes, both very much abundance mindset, thought process,
Yeah.
growth mindset, and then so cool.
And then we met at the Real Producers event and then really hung out.
Yeah, exactly.
Had pineapple juice.
Yeah, exactly. For those of you that don't know, I don't drink, so my drink of choice usually, if I have to get a drink, is some sort of juice at the bar.
Pineapple
Usually
juice.
pineapple juice. I want to, your story is an interesting story just in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every time I hang out with you, I learn a little bit more. So I want to share about your story because I think some people just see, Dave, the guy that waves at me when he puts up open house signs,
Mm-hmm.
and all of this. But I want to track back to how did we get here? You know what I mean? So did you ever have an intention of being in real estate?
Not really. It's interesting. My coach asked me that. He's like, what got you to where you are and why do you think you are the way you are? You know? He called me a super agent. And I was like, I don't know. I've never thought about it. So that was the first time I really thought about, okay, how did I get here? What makes me good at what I'm doing? What things that I'd go through life or jobs that I had, right?
Yeah.
So if I think about it, the other day I was just thinking about my wife, Julia, gives me a hard time about my open house signs, right? There's a particular way I like to put the signs. It's important, so, and I thought about it. My mom used to do garage sales and she was so particular on where the garage sale directional signs had to go. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's where I get it.
You just had an epiphany?
Yeah. And also at garage sales is when I would sell baseball cards, as a kid. I'd be 7, 8 years old selling baseball cards and sets of baseball cards.
Yeah.
And making a lot of money doing it. And then my mom used to take me to card shows. And, I'm 9 years old, and she drops me off at these card shows.
Yeah.
And I would be dealing with these guys, adults.
Yeah.
Trying to trade for my cards. And I'd be bartering deals. And then my mom would come and pick me up at the end of the show,
What a trip.
So it was in Laguna Hills. I remember it would be a 6 o'clock to a 9 o'clock time frame, and my mom would just let me go. And
See you later.
And I would just go and wheel deal. And I
amazing.
think that's what started my entrepreneurial kind of spirit,
Yeah.
And then after, growing up, I just wanted to play in sports and obviously wasn't good enough. So I was we had an auction at our baseball team in my senior year, and someone was auctioning a guitar and I wanted to buy it. So, Dad, please, can I just buy a guitar?
Yeah.
He's like, you don't know how to play. I know, but I'll learn. So I bought the guitar for $50. I taught myself how to play it. And within a year or two in college, I was no longer going to school anymore. I was playing in bands.
Oh, hell yeah.
And that was what I did for a long time. And eventually, was a promoter. I was doing anything to have a job in music and not have to have a real job. So I did that for a long time and made a living at it until, I don't know, it was my late 20s, and then gave that up because, you can't do it forever if you're not making a ton of money doing it, right? And then I went back to school, and my whole focus was I'm going to go to school and make a ton of money. That's my goal. So I think that was the best thing I ever did.
Seems like a simple plan.
You know, but it's like it's going to school at the age of 30 versus 20 is a whole different mindset.
So you never finished school. Did you drop out? Is that what you did?
I basically just stopped going.
So you dropped out.
I had a million credits, and I just never did anything because I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, all I knew is I want to play music, and I don't need a degree to play music.
Yeah.
But if I was to go back in time, I would say I would have got a business degree and played music at the same time.
Yeah.
Because most musicians are creative, but they're not business at all.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of it because I was always the kind of guy, the front guy of the band, or was the manager of the band, promoting the band. I cared about the band.
Yeah.
You know, so I had the business mindset, and I was always doing these principles that I learned in college.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that's what it was, and that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So you learn it at, you know, when I went at 30, and my whole mind was, I would just go to lunch with teachers. I would pick their brains and just be a sponge and teach me. I want to learn some skills and take it and actually do something with it. You know, versus when you're 20, you don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
You're just like, get me through this.
Yeah, and I think I paid for it.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that makes it different.
Yeah.
It's not on mommy and daddy's bill. It's on my credit cards. Just trying to get it done.
Yep.
Right? So I got through that and graduated, and then I got a job at a church. And I didn't make any money. So obviously I grew up in church, so that I always had something ingrained in me.
Yeah.
But that wasn't my goal. Going to school was to get a job at a church.
Yeah.
But my heart went that direction, and it was a great thing. I was there for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And I learned a lot. I learned how to, understand people, work with people, because you're dealing with people. That's what the church is.
What were you doing at the church?
I was a worship pastor. So I led worship. I led groups.
So you got to do music. So.
I still got to do music. You're getting volunteers involved. You're running different activities at the church. So you're always having to, think big pictures and big projects. Yeah, and that's the things that I like to do. So when my coach asked me, what makes you a super agent? The things that came to my mind was like, I was a creative musician and I'm a compassionate, pastor in a way.
Yeah.
So those kind of two things, and you combine them, is made me a super agent, because a lot of agents aren't creative. They don't have the creative aspect of branding or artistic design.
Yeah.
Like I have those things, and some people just don't have patience with people.
Yeah.
And I have a very good patience with people. I can put myself in their shoes because I had to do it for 15 years as a pastor.
Yeah.
Being able to understand where people are at a given time in their life, and how do you talk them through it and encourage them and show them that there is hope at the end, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with real estate. You're walking people through a stressful time in life. How can you do it with compassion and without being salesy?
Yeah, 100%. How did you, so 15 years working in the church, and then how was that transit?
How I got into real estate?
Yeah.
My wife. All right, so Julia's been doing it 15 years and killing it.
So while you were doing the church, she was doing real estate?
She was doing real estate.
Okay.
And no joke, she's in the hospital delivering a baby and answering the phone, closing deals. I'm like, put the phone down. We got a baby, we
got other things to focus on.
Yeah, and she's like closing deals, like, breathe. Okay. I was like, calm down. Give me that phone. And she's also 9 months pregnant, setting up open house signs while I'm at church, playing.
Yeah.
Right? So it was a good mix between us, but it was really hard on Julia.
Yeah.
Because, I think once we got pregnant with the fifth, that's, we have 5 kids. When we got that's when things changed.
It took 5 kids.
It took 5 kids. And Julia's, I could see it in her. She's either going to burn out and quit.
Yeah.
Or she's just going to hate it. She couldn't handle the stress. And I could see it from the outside. So she's like, you'd always be such a good agent. You should come help me. So when we were pregnant and we were freaking out, because
Pregnant with the fifth.
yeah,
Okay.
I said, why don't I get my license and I'll help you. I could be part-time help and do all the little things that you don't have time to do.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, that'd be awesome. So I did it, got my license, and then like 2 weeks in, she's like, you're really good at this. You should do this all the time, And like, so now I'm like kind of stuck because like I'm so passionate about what I do.
Yeah.
And it's really the only thing I know because that's all I've done for a majority of my career. So I made the switch like 6 months after, and I went full time into real estate.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened.
Oh my God.
And, so I'm starting January 1, no income coming in now, and COVID happened. And, that's kind of when we weren't essential yet. So no one knows what's going to happen.
Yep.
And Julia got COVID. So she was sick for like, I don't know, at least a month.
Yeah.
Like in bed, sick, asleep, and I'm trying to figure out what to do.
You're dealing with 5 kids.
5 kids. We had all these escrows going on, and everyone's asking me questions, and I had no idea what to do, So I'm trying to walk people through things, but it's not coming from the real estate side because I wasn't ready yet, right? So I was just walking people through with the compassion side of me. And I don't know, I connected with a lot of people. And then during that whole time, I literally just studied, watched every YouTube podcast I could, every, video that I could on YouTube. I built a website, like anything I could to just get myself ingrained in it.
Yeah.
And I studied. And I did that probably 8 hours a day for that whole like 4-week period of when it was just shut down, right?
I want to hit on that, but then I'm going to ask another question later. But where do you think you got that? Where's that drive come from? That thought process of like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, so I'm going to go and study everything to learn how to, like, where does that come from? Is that from like one of your parents? Is that like where do you think that came from?
I think it's always kind of been in me, but it really came into me like with school, going back to school. When you go back to college, you have so much homework and so much reading, and like I took it serious. I actually did the homework, and I wasn't trying to get straight A's. I was just there to learn and study. Yeah. So I just got in the habit of like reading all the time, studying all the time, and then taking it above and beyond. Right. Yeah. So I was always reading books. I mean, I would go through a book a week at least, and I would type out all the highlights of my books, and then I have them all in a folder, and I would study them. Like, that sounds stupid, but at the same time, it like elevated me so fast compared to if I didn't do any of that.
Yeah, I mean, like going to that question, like what makes you a super agent? I think that's really it. Like, because so this is the same. Like I go from being in soccer to not knowing what the heck I'm going to do with my life to getting into real estate, knowing nothing about real estate. Yeah. Where like, that's what I did. I just dove in. I'm like, every podcast, every video, every book, everything. I'm just going to read, study. Yeah. Because then that's how you're going to increase your knowledge faster to be able to execute on a higher level, right? Like, and so I think that's a huge piece of that question that you keep saying is like you took it into your own hands and you controlled what you could control versus just being like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. Because you could have easily been like, I don't know what to do. Julia, tell me what I need to do. I know you're sick, but I don't know what to do. Yeah. Instead, you're like, okay, I got to go in. I got to study it. I can learn this. I can figure it out, which is a very rare trait, I think. Most people go to the I don't know what to do into the overwhelm where like when you're, instead of going into the overwhelm, you went into like, let me put my head down, study, and learn it. Yeah. Which is super powerful.
Totally. I think that's so true. A lot of agents just don't know what to do, so they get overwhelmed and quit, right? I think it's in anything in life. Yeah. Right? I mean, you got to be able to like put your head down and just do the work.
Yeah. Right? So like you said you played sports when you were younger? Yeah. Yeah. So do you think that came from playing sports or being in a band or selling baseball cards? Like, where do you think that trait came from?
Yeah, I think there's a discipline in sports. Yeah. Like you can translate 100%. From soccer, right? Because you're constantly working on your skill
Yeah.
that you're already good at, but you have to continually keep working on it.
100%.
Right? So it's kind of, in real estate, it's the same thing, or whatever industry you're in.
Yeah.
If you're not working on it, there's someone else that is, and they're just passing you.
I'd
You know?
say this. There's always someone out there getting better than you by working harder than you.
Yeah.
So you got to be the one that's going to outwork everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or else someone will pass. Like,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, honestly, it's not hard what we do.
No.
You know?
It's a very simple business.
Yeah.
It's hard work,
Yeah.
but it's...
But a lot of people just aren't
Relatively.
willing to sacrifice to the hard things.
Yep.
And the hard things aren't that hard. It's just the discipline.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Like, that's why Michelle Harrington is so good at what she does.
Yep.
Because her military background, it's so...
It's just
You know what I mean?
do the work.
Yeah, like, so I always think like guys in military, athletes, are so good at discipline,
Yep.
they would make great real estate agents.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, the guys that talk a lot are good agents. Like
Yeah.
hairstylists are good agents because they know how to communicate to people.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I always am in awe of the guy that cuts my hair. Like, how does he talk to people 10 hours a day?
I know, about like everything.
And he doesn't stop, and he's so good at it. And I was like, man, you are so good at communicating.
Yeah.
Don't you ever get tired? You know? And he's like, I just done it so long that it just becomes natural to me.
Yeah, it's...
You know? It's
You don't even realize
what a
you're doing
gift. Like, I can't talk like that for that long.
Ah,
You know?
you'd be surprised. I think you can, Dave.
My wife can. She likes to talk a lot.
I'm curious on going back to that decision to leave working in the church to get into real estate. Mentally, what was that like? Because, and the reason I'm asking is because, and I don't know if you dealt with this, but like you have this thought process of this cause, this purpose.
Yeah.
In the church,
Mm-hmm.
that's way higher than anything we deal with in life,
Mm-hmm.
to saying I'm going to be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Like, what did you deal with? Any sort of like identity crisis? Did you deal with it? Like, what was that like
Yeah.
on a mental level?
Well, I had a plan. So my plan was, I made a deal when I left that I said I'll commit to 2 years, and I'll still do 2 weekends a month
Okay.
to help them,
Yeah.
because I played a pretty significant role. So walking away from that was not hard for me, but also hard for them, right?
Yeah.
So I said I'll keep doing that, and so I still kind of fueled some of my passion.
Yeah.
It helped them. So that was a big help, I think, in that transition. I think the hardest thing was just the unknown, right? I'm like, what if this doesn't work?
Yeah.
And then the COVID happened. I was like, oh no, you know?
You're like, okay, God, I get it.
Yeah. I was like, did I make the wrong choice?
Yeah.
But man, now looking back now, it was like, that was the best thing I did.
Yeah.
And a lot of it had to do with, I like to build things.
Yeah.
And where I was at in that particular scenario, I can only build so much. And then it was just, that's what it had to be.
Yeah.
And in real estate, being my own boss and doing whatever I want, it's, and being able to build things
Yeah.
is like rewarding for me. And it's hard because that's where me and my wife, butt heads a lot,
Yeah.
because she's very A, B, C, D, and I'm like A to Z. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah.
Burn the ships. Let's go.
We're all in.
Yeah. So I think that's our struggle sometimes, because sometimes I might see things this way in the future and she doesn't. So, being able to do that, it's a good balance between us, because it protects me from making stupid decisions to jump too forward too fast. But at the same time, I have to push her with me. So we struggle with that, but we work through it and we figure it out.
Yeah.
The main thing is I always want to grow and I always want to build something. And the minute that stops, I would probably stop doing what I'm doing.
So with that being said, like, what keeps you continually motivated when you're reaching such high numbers, right? Like, because it's very easy to look at the numbers you're doing, the income that you guys are creating, the lifestyle that you have, and everything,
Yeah.
you and your kids are pretty set,
Yeah.
right? Like income wise, all of this, like everything's good. So like, what keeps you going even more? To build more is my point.
Yeah. You know, so looking back at where I was, I would have never thought back then this is where I'd be today. So I'm extremely blessed and fortunate, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been trusted with things. And it all comes back to, okay, let's create the vision, the values, the plan, and then let's execute it.
Yep.
And make sure that we honor this, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, my vision's kind of simple. It's not even a vision, but it's more of a catchphrase. Like helping each other win is like my mindset.
Yeah.
All right. So like, I think I heard it from Ryan Serhant once. He always says, you know what, I work for the deal, meaning both sides have to win.
Yeah.
And I always thought that's pretty ballsy to say, because then people might think, well, you're negotiating for them, not me.
Yeah.
But I understand his foundational principle behind it, because that's how I do my deals. If one person doesn't feel like they won, the deal doesn't make it through the finish line.
Yeah.
Or someone's bitter at the end, and now they're in my farm, you know?
Yeah.
So I want both sides to feel like they won, right? And so I have a sheet, and it says helping each other win, and it has categories of all these different people that I help. So not only just sellers and buyers and investors, but I want guys on my team to win.
Yep.
I want guys in the industry to win. I want the industry to win.
Yeah.
Right? So how can I help contribute to that overall, helping all these different people win? And how can I create values that drive that and get the results, not going off the grid, right?
Yeah.
And then creating a plan is so easy when you have those things in place, because you know, if it doesn't match these 4 values, I'm just not going to do it.
100%.
Because it's not who I am. It's not who our business represents. And I don't want that to go, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So I don't even know what we were talking about.
No, it's
I went on a rampage.
you could talk.
So I guess as this continues to grow, my mindset is like, how can I do more so I can give more back?
Yeah.
You know, like we were talking about the abundance mindset, right?
Yep.
I feel like we're in God's economy. You can't outgive God. So the more that you give away, the more just comes back, right?
Yep.
Rick Warren always says, you know, every year I give 1% more away.
Yeah.
And like he's up, like 94% he gives away, gives
Yeah.
back. Like it's the most sold book in the history of mankind, next to the Bible. I mean, how amazing is that? God gave that book to Rick, and because God knew he could trust Rick to do the right thing with it. And I want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So like, how can I help more people on my team create sustainable businesses that translates and transforms their family and creates generational wealth?
Yeah.
Like, and even my clients, I want them to create generational wealth. Like, how can you pass these things down to your kids that passes down to their kids and makes a difference?
Yeah.
You know, like one of our values is 360 degrees of generosity. You know, I want to be able to give back to my clients, to my agents, to my family, to anything that I can that is going to do good things in this world. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
So
I think it's that when you find a higher purpose for what you are doing in business, and it doesn't need to be real estate, it's just business in general, then the growth the growth is like exponential, and also there's no ceiling to it, right?
Yeah.
Like so the reason I asked the question I asked is because, like, you know, a lot of people can get complacent and content, and there's a lot of agents that hope and wish they do the numbers that you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, once I do these numbers, then I'll be good.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, once I do 100 million, once I do 200 million, then I'm good.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not the case though, because what happens is you find yourself another challenge, you know, like you're speaking on it. It's like, I always say I ask 3 questions to every agent that I bring on. It's, what's your definition of success? What's your definition of wealth? And why do you do what you do?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I could go over all of them, but I'll just go over the wealth. Like, my definition of wealth is how much I can afford to give away.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the more that I feel I can, the more that I make, the more I can give away, the more that I can do for others, then the more motivated I become.
Yeah.
It's like this beautiful thing because, to be able to help the people around us is, I think our highest purpose as human beings is to serve others, right? To serve each other, to serve others. And so when we build a business based on that, it's very motivating. And so I want to make sure, because I had an idea of that's why it was, and that's why I was asking you.
Yeah.
That's why I brought that question up, because I wanted to make sure success breeds success, and I think that more than just your knowledge of, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to learn everything. I'm going to put my head down and study and yada, yada, and focus in on this. More than just I know how to deal with people because of this. I think the bigger purpose to what creates, you and Julie, to be so successful in the business is that greater good of serving and helping the community and helping the others.
Yeah.
Because you do it so well with not just your clients, but also, like you said, your agents, right? You guys are so focused in on can we give the best product to our people?
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing. So my next question with that being said is, what does that look like? What's the next iteration of that? As you grow, how do you continue to push yourself there?
Yeah, so it's funny, I was listening to a podcast, John Maxwell, he does leadership.
Yeah.
He's the genius. He said, leaders with a growth mindset wake up every day ready to climb a mountain.
Yep.
Right? I'm motivated every day.
Yeah.
I got something I need to climb and some goal I need to accomplish. Right? So, even if my goal is 200 million in sales, the year after is going to be 250.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just my mindset. I always want to outdo what I did the year before.
Yeah.
And, and I don't know, we just started the team, and I thought, okay, I'll set my goal, my sales will be down just a little bit so I can invest more in the team.
Yeah.
And I still did both. You know what I mean? That's and I always tell the guys on the team, I always look at your goals like it should be printed on your desk. Just always look at it.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I'm looking at my goals all the time, making sure where am I at, what do I need to adjust, where do I need to pivot and change some things. But you need some kind of direction where you're headed and where you're going. I don't know. I always got crazy ideas.
Where does that let's say a new agent joins your team and everything, and they don't know the direction. How do you suggest someone finds the direction?
Of what they want, where they
want to go, what their goals are. There's a lot of people that will say, I just don't know. Right? So how do you suggest someone finds that?
Well, I think you can look at someone's life and see what their scenario is, because we know what it takes.
Yeah.
The sacrifices that we make, the time and the commitment, and given someone else's life, how can we not warn them, but protect them? Right?
Yeah.
Because it is a big commitment to go 100% all in on real estate, and it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I know some scenarios, they don't have that time. So how can you give them hope to jump on board in steps?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've got a lot of single moms on the team, and I want to help them succeed to be able to take care of the family.
Yeah.
Because there's someone else that's not, right? So how can I motivate them, show them the things that me and Julie have learned?
Yeah.
Don't do this.
Yeah.
Don't do this. Do this. You know what I mean? That's the whole benefit of being on a team. And it's we're not just a team. We're a successful team that grows year after year.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't had 1 year since I've gotten my license that has been below the previous, right?
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that is just we set goals and we set standards and we do it and we do the work.
Yep.
So the guys that join the team, you can do the work. Here's the exact stuff to do, and it'll work for you.
Yeah.
It's just some people choose not to do it, or they're afraid to do it. I don't know. I think.
Why do you think they choose not to, or they're afraid to?
I think some people have the wrong idea of what it is. They just think it'll happen, right?
Yeah.
If I could just, like you were saying, if I could just get to 100 million, then I'm set for life.
Yeah.
No, you're not. Like, I don't know. I think like, when you see agents leave teams or brokerages and things like that, they're bouncing all over the place. It's like you do 3 deals and all of a sudden the grass is greener on the other side, right? Because you get all these guys recruiting you and promising you the moon.
Yep.
You make the change and nothing happens, and now you just left a team that gives you all the leads and helps you, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I always have conversations with agents, and like, it's like, oh, you're doing X, Y, Z your first 2 years, yada yada, and oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I always ask them, I'm like, what percentage of that is your own business versus your team's business? They're like, well, it's all my own business. I close all the deals. Yes, but how many deals were you given versus how many did you hunt for, right? Mm-hmm. And I always tell people, like, if you're below the, when you're on a team, if you're below the 70% mark, like, you should stay with the team.
Yeah.
Until it flips. Mm-hmm. Once you're at 70% on your own business, and then you have 30% that the team gives you, then you can leave and know that you can grow and fill that 30%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
But most agents, they leave early, right? Like, going to soccer, like, thought process, like, as an athlete, as a professional soccer player, I help, like, I've helped a bunch of, like, different players go pro. Mm-hmm. I was on a call with one of the players earlier, and the team is the team is one of the best teams in the world, but their whole goal is to take a young player and then develop them, him or her, and then take them and then sell them to a different club. Like, that's their whole model.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the director of women's football, who we were on the call with, he goes, the problem is sometimes players get offers from clubs and they leave prematurely before they're ready to perform at that level.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that happens in real estate all the time. It's like, like you said, agents will get recruited and they're like, oh,
yeah,
I got recruited.
Yeah, totally.
I'm getting
set.
I'm getting 90+%.
Yeah.
And it's great. And I must be great. Then they go, and then all of a sudden their production doesn't change, or it goes down.
It goes way down.
It's one or the other. It either stays right there and they'll never figure out how to get to the next level, or it just drops off.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're not ready, it'll drop off.
Yep.
And when it drops off, then they're like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I don't know, because you never learned the principles. You weren't ready to do that, to create that. So let me ask you this, is you have agents that maybe they're new to the business, or they were in the business, they got in the business in the last couple of years where it was just, you sneezed on a property and it sold.
Yeah.
Right? And now we're in a market that's not the case. Mm-hmm. What piece of advice would you give those agents?
So I was thinking about this today.
That's why I asked you. See?
Yeah, this is good, because right now is the time where everyone's jumping ship, right? Because it's the end of the year. The biggest thing I would tell any agent is that it's not about the split. It's about the fastest way to get to 100 transactions. And what I mean by that is that I feel like if you can get to 100 transactions, it becomes exponential growth after that.
Yeah.
And that's a sustainable business, right? So let's say you're doing 10 deals your first year, which is a lot, right? You jump ship because you got recruited. That 10 deals now becomes maybe 2 deals the next year.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing, right?
Yeah.
If you would have just stayed with these 10, grow that to 25 the next, 50 the next, 75, 125. Now you've got all these clients that down here that are going to sell and buy again, right? So now that 100 transaction turned into 150, 250 pretty fast. And that's what I try to tell my agents is play the long game, sustainable business. Yeah. Don't play 10 transactions, 20 transactions. It's not about the split at all, Because if I can build your business in 3 to 5 years to where you have 100 transactions, you're set.
Yeah.
Now it's just maintain those clients that you have, because 80% of your business in the future is your past clients.
Yep, 100%.
And they will pay you, $150,000 in your lifetime.
Yeah.
You have 100 clients, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, I'm curious as a team leader perspective. Once they hit that 100 transactions and they say, hey, Dave, I'm leaving. I'm going to go do my own thing.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Well, I don't like it when anyone leaves. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if you've done 1, 10, 100. It just hurts, right? Because I care about the guys on my team. I'm not in that place yet to where I could just like, just not care about my clients, right? My agents. I think I care so much about them, and I go over and above and beyond for them, and do all I can to make them succeed, right? Yeah. Some do work, some don't. Some decide to leave, and I can't control that. And that's one thing that's hard for me, because like fantasy football, you can draft whoever you want, but if Amari Cooper decides he doesn't want to play today, I'm screwed. You know what I mean? Like fantasy football just sucks because you're not really in control, and it's just a gamble, right? Yeah. And every week is different. And so with agents, all I can do is give them the blueprint, give them all the tools and training that I think is good, that I wish someone would have showed me. This is what I learned, and it sped me up so much. So here, I'm giving it to you. Just do it. And so it's up to them, right? I can only motivate them as much as I can. But that's why, what keeps you in the game is like an important question you should ask yourself. Like, why do you do what you do? What keeps you going when it gets tough? When you don't get that offer accepted, what keeps you in the game? Yeah,
exactly. It's interesting. I asked that question on purpose because, I hear it from team leaders all the time. It's like, I train these agents and then they leave.
Yeah.
And I remember I had an agent. I had an agent that I lost. That was I trained him. I showed him everything. I mean, and he was crushing it. I think he did like 25 million or something like that in his first year. Like, he just listened to everything I told him, yada yada. And second year, he's crushing it, yada yada. And now I think he did like 17 first, 25 the next, or something like that, right? And I'm like, it was the first time that I was like, okay, I actually know what I'm doing. I know how to train these agents. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, all right, cool. Like, because he listened to everything that I told him and how to do it.
Yeah.
Well, then what ended up happening is he left, and then I was so sad. I was sad, I was mad, I was upset. I was all the emotions.
Yeah.
And I remember calling one of my mentors, and I was like, dude, like, blah, 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 this is what happened. Dude just left. Like, I trained him, I showed him everything, and he left. Like, what the hell? And he goes, and I was like, he screwed me over. This is my mindset.
Yeah.
Like, what the? Now I look at him like, what were you thinking, Cyrus? But, and I had this one of my mentors, he goes, you know what I learned a long time ago, Cyrus? He goes, I used to do the same thing. I used to get upset when someone left me and would be so mad. And by the way, he's done real estate. It was just business in general.
Yeah.
He goes, what I learned is I shifted my whole mindset is, well, my protege now got their own wings and is flying.
Yeah.
Like, and I helped them get there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm like, what a mindset shift, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like this thought process of like, when they hit that 100 deals, if they do go on their own, at least you set them up for success.
Yeah, yeah.
To grow, to have their own sustainable business versus, not.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, and so it's always interesting when we have these conversations in general, like, because I think a lot of agents want to get to where you're at.
Yeah.
And so sometimes agents think that they're where you're at before they're there.
Yeah. And I get it. I've had agents leave, that were too early. And I told them, I said, it's too early.
Yeah.
And they did it. But
100%.
So I get it. Like, I would be the same way. I want to just try it.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
So
now I have two more questions for you. The first question is how can people connect with you? Where can people find you?
Yeah, Instagram @ the Archuletta team.
How do you spell it?
So THE _ Archuletta, ARCH.
Underscore the?
No, the _
Okay.
Archuletta, ARCHULETTA _ team. And you can find us on Instagram and YouTube, same handles.
Awesome,
So.
Killer. And then my last question is someone's in your shoes thinking about a huge career change, trying to figure out if they should go into a completely different career, if they should take that leap of faith, if they shouldn't, what would your advice be for them?
Go all in, give it a year. I mean, that's the only way to do it in our industry.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just do it part-time. Part-time agents get part-time results. That's what I always like to say.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of true.
Yep.
So if you're all in, know that you don't get paid right away. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
You know, so I say give yourself a year. So if you could save some money, reserves, even if it's just 6 months, do whatever you can to do that all in for 6 months.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a year before you're making some money to pay your bills.
Awesome. Dude, Dave, I appreciate you for being on today.
Yeah.
Thanks
you.
so much for the conversation. Thank you, brother.
All right.